Hi, this is Meg with Farmgirl Flowers, and today I'm here to give a few care tips about anemones. So when your anemones arrive, you might notice that a couple of them are really blown open, like this one, and you might also have some that are really tightly closed, and both are normal stages for your anemones to arrive. But there's a couple of ways that you can actually control how quickly they bloom. So anemones that are really open like this, you can actually separate out of the bunch, and if you put those back into a really cold, sort of darker environment, they will actually close back up. They're one of the flowers that is really cool and actually will continue to bloom, or you can actually manipulate it to close back up again after you've trimmed it. So if you have some that are really blown open and you want them a little bit more closed to preserve the lifespan a little bit, you can put them in a cool, dark space for a while. Alternatively, if your anemones arrive and they're really closed, that's also normal, but what you can do is trim the stems and put them in some warm water in a little bit of a sunnier spot for an hour or so, and that'll help them to open up a little bit. But before you do either of those things, you're gonna wanna trim the stems and get them hydrated in some water. So I'm gonna do that now. And I have a pair of floral clippers here, but if you don't have floral clippers at home, you can also use a pair of sharp kitchen scissors. So I trimmed off maybe 2.5 or 3 inches. You definitely need to trim at least 1 inch off, but just keep in mind the size of the vase that you're gonna put them in when you're trimming the stems. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put some water and just get those hydrating for a little while before we try to style them. So now that your anemones have been hydrating for an hour or two, you can get ready to style them. So I'm actually gonna just take them out of the vase to show a couple of extra care tips about these. So you will have already trimmed them to get them hydrated in your vase of water when you first receive them. And then you'll wanna trim them again to the height of your vase when you're ready to style them. It's really important, even if your anemones arrive and they're short and they're already kind of a good length for the vase that you're using, you do need to trim them because the ends will have become dry in the overnight flight. And so you'll want to trim them so that they are fresh and able to soak up water from the bottom. And then the next thing after you've given them a trim is you can start styling them in your hand. So I'm just gonna trim off another inch maybe to start. And then I kind of am going to measure against the height of my vase when I think about styling them. So another tip about anemones is that some of the blooms are going to open faster than the other ones, and so their life cycle might reach the end before some of the other blooms, which is pretty normal, but it is going to be important to remove any anemones that are past the end of their life cycle so that they don't introduce bacteria into the water, because this can be harmful to your other flowers. So you can kind of start just designing them in your hand. And one thing that I would say is while you're holding on to the anemones, keep in mind their stems are really delicate. So keep a light grip when you're holding on to the stems of these. The stems you can actually see at the bottom are hollow, and so they crush really easily. So just make sure that you're being really gentle with them when you're handling them. And you can kind of just gently hold them in your hand and move the stems up or down to figure out how you want them to be styled in your vase. And this will help you just sort of be able to easily trim the stems to the right length and then drop them in there. So I think I'm going for a little bit more of a round shape, which is great. And I'm ready to trim. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure them against the side of my vase. And it's always better to measure and then cut. You can always trim away more stem, but this way you're kind of getting an accurate, guess for how your anemones are gonna look when you put them in the vase. So once your anemones are all styled in your vase, you'll wanna find a place for your vase in your home that's gonna be out of direct sunlight and away from any direct heat source. And this will help ensure that your flowers last for as long as possible. The other way that you can ensure that your flowers last as long as possible is to change the water every other day, or if you can, every day. And this will help them stay really fresh. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Meg with Farmgirl Flowers, and we'll see you next time.